Hi, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Welcome to the South Carolina College Baseball video recap for Tuesday, April the 22nd. There were 18 games involving state teams played on Tuesday. There were some others that were rained out. We'll get into that later. The big game of the night was over at Doug Kingsmore Stadium in Clemson. The number 2 Tigers shut out number 10 Georgia 3-0 as 5 Clemson pitchers combined to hold the Bulldogs to 3 hits. Clemson got a run in the bottom of the first, another one in the second, then punched across a insurance run in the middle of about the 7th inning, I believe it was. Lucas Malastat closed up the Dogs in the 9th inning for his 15th save of the season. That ties the Clemson single season school record. Let's try that, get that right. The Tigers are now 36-7. Georgia Tech fell to 33-10. Down in Mount Pleasant, Darian Pendergrass singled and drove in 2 runs, and the College of Charleston snapped a 3-game losing streak with a 4-2 win over ranked Coastal Carolina. The Cougars improved to 23-16, and I'm sure they're glad to get some runs. They were shut out over the weekend in Northeastern in 3 straight games. Coastal fell to 30-11. For the College, Avery Neves had a couple of doubles and scored twice. Also, Lane Tobin had 2 hits and scored a go-ahead run on a balk, as the Citadel beat Charleston Southern by a score of 3-1 at Joe Riley Park. The Bulldogs, who did not play over the weekend, broke a 2-game losing streak. They're now 20-19. Charleston Southern, which had a 3-game winning streak broken, is now 22-15. For the Bulldogs, Aryan Patel had a single, 2 stolen bases, and scored a run. And Caden Smith homered to provide the Charleston Southern run. KJ Scobie's ground rule double in the 10th inning gave South Carolina a 3-2 win over North Florida. Nathan Hall had a 2-run homer for the Gamecocks' other runs. Scobie also had a single earlier in the game. USC got great pitching from Jackson Susie, who went 5 shutout innings. And big for the Gamecocks, they did not walk anyone until the 10th inning, but they got around that. Jackson Susie, I mentioned, it was 5 shutout innings. He allowed 3 hits, did not walk any, and struck out 3. The Gamecocks improved to 24-18, and North Florida fell to 21-20. In the game, Ethan Petrie got his 200th career hit. It was a double off the top of the right field wall, and it was his 50th hit of the season. In Spartanburg, Tyler Hare had 3 hits and drove in 3 runs as Wofford beat Queens by a score of 12-5. Tanner Harden was 2 for 3 with 2 stolen bases and 2 runs scored for the Terriers, who improved to 25-17. Queens fell to 5-33. Down in Greenwood, they had a thriller. Erskine had the lead going to the bottom of the 9th inning. They were up 6-5, got the first 2 outs via strikeout, and then disaster struck for the Flying Fleet. And miraculous, if you will, that may be too much of a word, but a tremendous comeback for the Bearcats to win that game. With 2 outs, nobody on, Connor Droz was hit by a pitch. Adam Love singled a shortstop, and pinch runner for the Bearcats improved to second. Mario Lopez Jr. walked to load the bases. The Flying Fleet switched pitchers, and then Garrett Chun belted a double into the right center field gap for 2 runs to give the Bearcats a walk-off 7-6 win. Lander is now 34-13. They have won 6 straight games with that victory. Erskine, which has had through some tough times lately, Erskine has lost 6 straight. The Flying Fleet is now 18-29. Up in Cookeville, Tennessee, Tennessee Tech scored 5 runs in the 4th inning and beat USC Upstate by a score of 8-2 in the opener of a 2-game series. Johnny Sweeney had a 2-run homer to provide the runs for the Spartans. That series will continue tomorrow afternoon. Tennessee Tech's now 25-16. Upstate fell to 21-19. Kevin McMeans drove in the go-ahead run in the 5th inning of Game 1, and 7 pitchers combined for a 4-hit shutout in Game 2 as USC Sumter swept the Carolina Blue Claws. First game score was 3-2, and the second game score was 5-0. In Game 1, Nick Foster had a double and scored a run for the Fire Ants. In Game 2, Chris Sidlowski had a homer and a walk. With that sweep, USC Sumter improved to 26-22. Also, down in the PD area, Devin Mitchell had 3 hits and drove in 6 runs in Game 1, and Jackson Proctor had 3 hits and drove in 6 runs in Game 2, as Florence Darlington Tech swept the Columbia International JVs. First game score was 16-1. Second game score was 24-1. In game one, Patrick Evans also was 3 for 4 with 2 stolen bases, 3 runs scored, and 3 RBI for the Stingers. And also in game two, Jacob Brown was 3 for 4 with a double, 2 runs scored, and 4 RBI. Elsewhere, Capers Molinaroli, his third hit of the game, drove in the go-ahead run in the 8th inning. He later scored another run, and USC Aiken knocked off Newberry by a score of 4-2. I was looking at their team record. The Pacers improved to 19-27. Newberry fell to 25-22. For Aiken, Donovan Glisson had a single, a double, and scored a run. 4 players had 2 hits apiece as Anderson beat Augusta by a score of 11-5. Ben Bullard hit a grand slam in the 9th inning to give the Trojans some breathing room as they went to the bottom of the 9th. Also for Anderson, Ben Brash, well, I've lost my note, but Brash pitched a couple of shutout innings for the Trojans in that game. Down in Dahlonega, 2-run homers by Andrew Opata and Philip Ard powered number 14 North Georgia to a 4-2 win over number 9 North Greenville in a meeting of NCAA Division II powers. North Georgia improved to 34-12, while North Greenville dropped to 40-10. For the Trailblazers, Peyton Howard is 1 for 2 with a walk, a stolen base, and a run scored. Up in Davidson, North Carolina, Davidson scored 8 runs in the 7th inning, and they snapped Winthrop's 4-game winning streak. Final score was 12-9. The Wildcats are now 17-22. Winthrop fell to 22-21. For Winthrop, Ethan Wilson had a single, a homer, a walk, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. Also on Tuesday, Payne had a pair of big offensive games, and they swept Voorhees by scores of 11-9 and 13-3. Voorhees had an 8-game winning streak snapped with that sweep. In Game 1, Eric Green had 3 hits for the Tigers. In Game 2, Raekwon Wedderborn was 2 for 2 with a walk, a run scored, and an RBI. And in the final game involving a state team played on Tuesday, Tyler Tucker had 2 hits and drove in 3 runs, and Savannah State beat USC Beaufort by a score of 5-3. Savannah State improved to 28-10. USC Beaufort fell to 9-34. There were 4 games canceled on Wednesday. Bob Jones' game at Brevard was canceled. I was figuring out what was going to happen. I was riding up in Greenville County about midday, and it looked kind of foreboding over towards Brevard, and sure enough, they postponed the game. Limestone's game at Belmont Abbey was canceled. Morris was supposed to play at Carolina University for Carolina University Senior Day, and for whatever reason, it was canceled, and Carolina University had a intra-squad game that they televised. For the first little while, I couldn't tell. They didn't have any graphics to tell what was going on, and I thought Morris was playing, but they did not. Morris got canceled. And the last game that was canceled, Presbyterian was leading North Carolina 4-3 after 3 innings when rain struck, and they could not get the game back over, so they had to cancel it. PC had scored 3 runs in the top of the first inning to take the lead. In other games that were involving ACC or SEC schools, Arkansas beat Little Rock 10-0. Auburn beat Georgia Tech 1-0. Boston College beat Quinnipiac 15-2. Florida beat Georgia Southern 12-1. Florida State beat Stetson by a score of 11-6. Kentucky pounded Louisville 17-5. That's who USC plays this weekend is Kentucky. Middle Tennessee knocked off Vanderbilt 5-3. Middle Tennessee is coached by former USC pitching coach Jerry Myers. Missouri State shut out Missouri 11-0. Oral Roberts beat Oklahoma 5-3. Tennessee beat Lipscomb 11-1. Texas A&M pounded Sam Houston 13-3. Virginia topped Georgetown 13-1. Virginia Tech beat VCU 6-5. And Wake Forest beat Liberty by a score of 6-4. Texas State had a late lead on Texas going into the 9th inning, and the last time I looked, the Longhorns had just hit a grand slam, so they're quite likely going to hold on to that game. Other games that were still in progress, Alabama at Sanford, the Crimson Tide were up big late. Mississippi State and Ole Miss are playing a non-conference game in Pearl, Mississippi for the Governor's Cup, and Northwestern State was at LSU. A couple of ACC teams were canceled on Tuesday. East Carolina at NC State was canceled. Clemson goes to NC State this weekend, by the way, and the Gardner-Webb Duke game was canceled. Well, how about the schedule for Wednesday involving state teams? As I mentioned, USC Upstate is finishing up that two-game series at Tennessee Tech. First pitch is scheduled for 4 o'clock in Cookeville, and Southern Wesleyan's game at Limestone was canceled. Apparently, Southern Wesleyan had 51 regular season games on its schedule. Not sure how that happened, but Division II teams are limited to 50 games. So there will only be one real game involving a state team on Wednesday. Again, it's USC Upstate at Tennessee Tech. You can get those other ACC and SEC scores that have not yet ended later on tonight at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. If you would, just let me know what you like and don't like about my coverage. You can email me at rudyjones@PalmettoStateBaseball.com. You can follow me on X at Palmetto Base. Like I mentioned yesterday, they have started a GoFundMe account for Spartanburg Methodist coach Tim Wallace, who is dealing with some health issues. They have a goal of $20,000. I dropped a check in the mail today. I hope you'll consider doing it too. If you know Tim, he's done a lot for college baseball in South Carolina. He's helped guide a lot of guys who've gone on to play professional ball and also at some of the best four-year schools. But, just do what you feel led to do. For now, this is all with the Palmetto State Baseball video recap for South Carolina in Tuesday, April 22nd. This is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com saying good night, Jesus loves you.